Hey everybody! Hello, hello. We're live.
And
Wel-
alive.
Welcome to Lead and Laugh or hashtag whatever we're going to call it today. Good to see everybody. I'm Kathy Klotz-Guest, and with me is my friend, author James Fell.
Yeah, I
And
was typing in my name and I just put, oh, James. And now I'm looking at yours and I thought, crap, I should have put my last name in there too.
the man who
More
needs,
branding on my on my part.
he doesn't need. He's like Cher or Madonna. He doesn't need a last name, but he is James Fell, and he makes me laugh, and I adore him. And he's like I said again, he's the author of the Holy Shit Moment, and I don't think I can say that too many times today. Holy shit moments. So let us know too if you've got questions. I should be able to see them. They'll pop up. And yeah, so and if you can hear it, let me know too. That would be helpful so we know that it's going through normally on Facebook. So as far as I know it is. Let's see if we can check. And the only reason I ask is because it's been variable. The video's been up and down. Everybody's trying to do these things all at the same time. So you get what you get. But as far as I can tell, it looks like we're going through. So
Netflix isn't sucking up all the bandwidth in Earth right now.
Okay, good. No, it looks like it's going through. So let us know if you have any questions. So now if you ever follow somebody super funny on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. I look forward to James's tweets at Body for Wife, and we'll talk about how he got that name. But at Body for Wife. And one of the things that I love most about James is, besides being hilariously funny, is his ability to just go right for the jugular of an issue. And he does not back down. He's not afraid. He's not apologetic. And
Well, when I screw up, I apologize.
you do. But I love the fact that you have a strong opinion and you ain't apologizing to nobody. It's like, that is what I think. If you don't like it, you can just bite me and like and I love it. Like, were you always this way, James?
Oh, quite the opposite. I was pretty invisible in my younger years because I was bullied quite a bit, and I think it was because I was weird. I was different. I was not athletic, and I didn't fit in. And it's like every time I opened my mouth, people made fun of me because it was just like, dude, you're just too fucking strange. Shut the hell up. And sometimes with your fists. And so I was quiet for quite a time, and I think it was just that, like, I had weird, crazy parents that just spoke their minds, and strange tastes, and most people just didn't get it. And the other thing was that I didn't really know how to channel it well. Like I would just blurt stuff out without really thinking about, okay, how do I effectively want to communicate this? Mm-hmm. And then over the course of years, I got a bachelor's and a master's degree in history, which really involves, when you're writing a history paper, it involves telling stories in a coherent manner.
Yeah.
And that was what sort of sculpted this bizarre, James Fell fuckery that was going on in here into a way that I could communicate things that some people, not everybody, kind of liked. And then it would, at first I started writing, I was a little bit cautious. And then it seemed like the little more outrageous I was, the more people appealed to it. And, I got a column with the LA Times, and all of a sudden I had this big platform, and people are like, no, we want the crazy. We want the in your face. My column at the LA Times was called In Your Face Fitness. And that was, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is, I found my calling.
You did find your calling. Isn't it amazing how a lot of us are weird? And we own our weird. And as we get older, we lean into, and we sort of are transformed by that weird because we own it. We sort of lean into it. And I think as we age, we are more like, yeah, weird. You don't like it? Don't look. And we're just more unabashed. I find the older I get, it's like, in my 40s, I'm like, this is it. This is what's going to be. Don't like it. Don't look. I'm cool with it. Come on board. Don't, whatever. I mean, are you finding that? Yeah.
It's, I mean, you've probably heard of the concept of having fuck you money, which is when you have enough money that you're just able to say fuck you. And it's kind of like that with not just with money, but with wisdom and experience. And you've got your people, you've got your your family and your friends, and they know and love and accept you. And at a certain point, you're just like, I got nobody else to really try and impress. And well, maybe not completely. You may still have people that you want to impress, but you're going to do it your way by being authentic. And if you're not impressed, then they're the wrong people.
Yeah, I need some more of that fuck you money. But I love that, because I think, one of the things that I've always, in my work with my clients and everything, and is, as a storyteller and a creative and a comic, it's your point of view, and a writer, it's always your lens in the world that matters most. And if you really want to do something worth doing and you really want to have an impact, you've got to have a point of view that is really clear and know who you're for. And I always love your writing because I know who you're for. And I'm like, I am who he's for. And if you don't like it, I guess you're not gonna, you're gonna block you. But I always know what side you're on, how you're gonna feel about an issue. And I love that you take like these big topics and you always have a very Jamesian take. Some of that fuck you money. And you always have that take in the world that I think is really refreshing.
Well, not always. If I don't have a take, if I look at something, I'm going, I don't know what I think about that.
Yeah.
But I just keep my mouth shut. that was a hard lesson to learn. Like sometimes I would wade into something and then I get caught up going, actually, I'm talking out of my ass right now. I don't really know what's going on here. I should just shut up. And got embarrassed a bit. And so now I try and avoid embarrassment by not wading into things where I'm uneducated. Like people say, I'd love to hear, I get messages all the time, like, what does James Fell think of this? And my reply back to them is, I don't know, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Like, isn't that really important though? I think you hit on something super important. Like as sort of this COVID thing has kind of spun out in the last month, I don't have an opinion. I can't add to a conversation on, nobody needs Kathy's thoughts on, remote, networking, working from home, how to set up your home office. Like these are like, I can't add anything to the discussion because I really don't feel like I have a strong lens in the world on that topic. So knowing when to contribute and when to go, what, that's noise. And I'm not going to add anything to move the discussion forward. So why bother? I think that's an important thing to know, right? Don't you think?
And I think that you can go into new territory as long as it's based on, your previous knowledge base and experience with, COVID-19 is new territory for all of us. Yeah. And the one thing that I am saying in this is something that I've been repeating over and over for years, which is listen to the scientific experts and what the majority of them are saying and follow that advice. And I've done that in regard to things like diet and exercise and the psychology of motivation and a lot of different things and habit formation and GMOs and climate change and all this kind of stuff. I've repeated that ad nauseum. And so I'm not changing my message. My message when it comes to COVID-19 is listen to the majority of the verified scientific experts, what they're saying, and follow that advice.
Yeah, no, so true. But you've always been consistent. I like that. I love that you're, equally passionate about sort of the anti-vax stuff. And you're like, in other words, saying, hey, anti-vaxxers, shut up and get with the science. And you've always been consistent. You're very much about science and nutrition but I love that your definition, and let me know if I'm wrong here. You're hilarious, but sort of your definition of, I think, just talking about social issues that affect all of us go far beyond the purview of like fitness. You talk a lot about social issues, which I love. You and I have talked a lot about different social issues, and I love that your brand it's broader than that, because you're talking a lot these days about, just social attitude, social justice. I don't know how you describe it, but
it was really a strange evolution that surprised me, because in 2010 was when I first started writing for the Los Angeles Times. And a couple of years later, I was in the Chicago Tribune, and that was getting shared in papers all over the world. And so I became a pretty well-known figure in the fitness world. And as a result of that, I started to learn about things in fitness that I didn't realize existed before that, which was there was a tremendous amount of misogyny and sexism, misogyny, I guess they're kind of the same thing, and homophobia. Like I got into it originally because I wanted to fight the battles in terms of the bullshit, the anti-scientific crap regarding diet and exercise, of which there is plenty. And then I started to get exposed to all this misogyny and homophobia, and even like there's a strong white supremacy component within fitness culture. Like there's people that are into white supremacy. They see themselves as these types of kind of superior race, and one of the ways that they like to portray that is by getting really fit to show off, like I'm superior in every way as this white man, and look at my pecs. Kind of like it's fucked up. I don't really quite understand it, but it's there. And and so I and one of the things that really bothered me that in the early years was this whole concept of being an alpha male. It just made me go, I just hated it. And it just struck me as so gross and infantile and stupid. And you're trying to scientifically justify being an asshole, and just shut up. And so I was one of the early voices that was calling that out. And it led to some pieces in Time magazine that really kind of changed the course, because there was people that said, shut up, James. And then there were other people that said, we like this, write more of it. So I became a polarizing figure within that. And I started calling out, sexism within the fitness industry. And it just kind of snowballed from there, because I was raised in a very progressive family. And, I have a mother that just exploded through glass ceilings and was a business icon, and a wife that graduated at the top of her class from med school, and so I was just raised in an environment where it was like this whole kind of patriarchal, I am man, I am in charge, listen to me. It was like, actually, no, if I tried to tell that to my wife, she'd laugh in my face.
As would I.
and once I became attuned to it within fitness, I kind of started to see it everywhere. Whereas before, when you're raised with all this privilege, this, pale skinned penis owner privilege, it is easy to be blind to injustices in the world because it never happened to you, right? And I mean, I got bullied a lot, but I was never lacking in privilege because of skin color or gender or any of those, or sexual orientation. But when I started seeing it because of the industry I was in, it really opened my eyes to a lot of it. And I had this voice, I had this platform. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to write about this stuff. And I know that made a lot of people mad. They're like, no, I just want fitness, James, stick to the fitness stuff. And I'm like, sorry, man, got to evolve. Like this is important to who I am. And if you don't like it, well, there's other fitness people out there. So.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I think it translates. Your point of view has translated to a larger sort of ring in sort of the circle, So if you think about expanding your point of view to other things, it's consistent that you have a voice in these things, because fitness is a microcosm of all these things that we're talking about. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles I see is, as we try to evolve our point of view, when we do, people are going to tell us to shut up. And as long as I'm making people laugh about marketing, people are like, yay. And then when I make people pissed off about talking about like social issues, they're like, ooh, we don't like that anymore, stop it. And I had a guy on Twitter go, hey, go back to being funny, used to be funny. And he's like,
I think you're still funny.
And he's like, well, yeah, because I started talking about the bigger issues in marketing and also innovation, which were, bias and the creative bias, that happens when we don't have voices represented, when we don't have Black voices in the room and women in the room and all these different voices in the room. And so I started writing about how that affected innovation and marketing and just business. Mm-hmm. And so then it was like, well, it used to be funny and now I don't like it. I don't like that you're saying all this stuff. And, said one guy in Minnesota recently. So you do have to evolve your point of view. And I love that you embrace that, because I think you're right. I think you have to. And you're going to piss some people off, and I think it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, acknowledging privilege is a hard thing to do for a lot of people, because for them, their initial reaction quite often to it is that, well, you're asking me to feel guilty about who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, not necessarily. It's, just be part of the team that tries to make the world better for everyone. Look at it as a way to just be a better human being, rather than we're not trying to punish you.
No, well said. I don't know anybody, well, maybe some folks, but I've never heard, you or, most people I know are not out there going, privilege is bad. It's just how you use it. Privilege is great. And if you worked hard to get it, there's nothing wrong with having privilege. It's just what you do with it. And if you can use it to lift other people up, that's what we're talking about. That's what I think you're talking about. But let's segue to one of my favorite books from last year. Like, one of my favorite books, everybody, was The Holy Shit Moment. I love this book so much. I did. I love this book. And
I love to hear that. One of my favorite sentences ever.
It was a great book. And somebody recommended it to me. Josh Bernoff recommended that I read it. And I read it. And I love this book. And so go out there, everybody, and read The Holy Shit Moment. And I loved it because you talk about that we can all have these holy shit moments, and it's what we do with it. And you talk about a couple of different kind of holy shit moments that were transformational for you. What's the biggest holy shit moment that you want to share with the audience? Like, what's that biggest one for you?
I would say, like, the real turning point in my life happened in my early 20s, which is what I talk about in chapter 1, where I'd been dating the woman that would become my wife for a while, a few months, and I was flunking out of school, and I was in debt, and like I'd always just done the bare minimum of work. I'd been a very lazy guy, and I was drinking too much, I was partying, I wasn't going to class, and all that kind of stuff. And I just had this experience sitting in the food court at university that because I was about to be kicked out of university. Uh-oh. And I read a quote in the university newspaper that was by folk singer Joan Baez, of all people, that goes, "Action is the antidote to despair." And those sort of cutesy quotes that they used to put on pictures on the wall in the 90s and stuff, and those are, I don't necessarily expect that any type of motivational quote is going to change someone's life. But the reality is that in that moment, it just hit me at the right time in the right place. If it had been a week earlier or a week later, it might not have worked. But I was just in this period where I was dwelling on the fact that I was about to be kicked out of university. I figured that I was going to screw up this relationship with this amazing woman, and I was just going in a bad direction. And then reading that line made me realize that all of these problems that I had were fixable, that I could start taking steps to solve these issues, and that I could turn it around. And so instead of going to the campus pub, I actually went to the dean's office or registrar's office or whatever, to begin the process of begging my way out of my failing report card, saying, "Please let me back in. I promise to be a good student." and they bought it. and they said, "All right, you seem just stop crying, and it'll be okay. We'll let you back in." And so I went back they let me back into school. And after that, I was a very good student. I studied very hard, ended up getting 2 master's degrees. And that was the moment that things turned around. And it wasn't like not everything changed all at once. My attitude changed all at once, from one of being very lazy to one where it's like, okay, I'm going to actually start doing some work here and applying these kind of innate skills and abilities that I have, rather than just going through on cruise control. And it just started a process of, embracing self-improvement and trying to make something of myself and accomplish something with my life.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember you telling me, I think last year that as you have now, it's like your wife is a doctor, and you were like, this is worth changing for. Like,
Yeah, she was only like 18 at the time, and she was
yeah,
a first year undergraduate student. But you know, she was a straight A student, and just there was no question that she was going places.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought, okay, I need to catch up, or she's going to leave me in her dust.
That's it. That's it. James was like, "Nah, I'm not losing. I don't want to lose this. Let's
Yeah,
get
and
into
it's
it."
over 30 years together now.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, we actually, it's our 25th wedding anniversary in June, and we were gonna take the family to Maui for 2 weeks, but well, that's delayed.
you will go and spend the first 2 weeks, actually, the entire time, actually in some kind of isolation period before you can even go to the beach. is
Yeah,
what is what I heard today. Well, maybe another time, but congratulations. That's 30 years is a big one. It's a huge one. If there's one thing, because let's entice people. I think it's a book well worth reading, or I wouldn't be talking about it. But what's one thing that, because you're right, a lot of times these motivational quotes, and we all know what we should do. There's the knowing doing gap, right? We know what we should do. Like, if I sit on my ass and I eat Twinkies all day, like,
you
i'm
still
gonna
have
I'm gonna get a Twinkie ass. So we know what we should be doing, and what we don't do it. So from your book, what's the one or two things that people can do to just really make it serious, like make an actual effort now?
it's funny. The book is actually, it talks about a singular transformative experience that
Yeah.
people have that opens a window in their mind that says, this is right. This is what you have to do. And it opens this overwhelming passion for you that takes the concept of willpower and throws it out the window. I've never liked the idea of willpower, because willpower implies suffering that you have to endure in order to accomplish something, which doesn't mean that everything becomes instantly easy. But when you are given this mission that says you got to do this, the work required to accomplish that mission feels a lot less like drudgery and a lot more like it's your destiny. You've got to do it. So it's you're willing to ness to go through all those highs and lows is undeterred, because there's this passion that's driving it. And the thing is that those how those missions, those quests arrive to you can often be fast and furious and happen very quickly, where you have this sudden realization. But the buildup can be a long, subtle, slow process of information gathering, where you are just trying to figure out, what do I want to do when I grow up? Like, where do I go from here? Like, why am I doing this instead of this? And but you also need to, the answer to the question of your life comes when you're not actively seeking it. It comes when you are in a distracted state. So you need to start investigating, okay, what
Yeah.
else could I be doing?
Yeah.
What is really important to me? Where do my priorities truly lie? And you dwell on that, and you focus on it, and you think about it, and you information gather, and then you do the exact opposite of that. Don't think about it. Do
Yeah.
something else. Shower thoughts are immensely powerful. So many great ideas come in the shower because you're in a distracted state. You've got the comfortable warm water. Hopefully you're not looking at your phone. Even if you have a waterproof phone, don't take it in the shower.
Do not do that.
In a routine of washing the same body parts over and over, you know it by heart, that it just allows your mind to wander. So you need to do things that allows your mind to wander, which is like not looking at the phone, not watching TV, but getting outside and going for a walk, or taking a shower, doing some yoga, that kind of stuff. Something that doesn't require you to think. And that's when these sudden insights arrive. And when they come, don't just dismiss it. Start investigating it, saying, is this it? Could this be this important thing? And either it's going to kind of flutter away and maybe it wasn't, or it could really be this powerful, emotional, intense experience where you're like, holy shit.
That's it.
That's the title of the book. It's a holy shit moment.
Yeah. And, it's like, I've had a lot of these holy shit moments. And I think it sounds like you have too. And I think we all have them. Sometimes we dismiss them. And I think they're really important to pay attention to. And like for me, it comes, you're right. When you're distracted, you're not forcing it. But I also find that it comes to me after I've planted the seed and I've just said, look, I'm looking for that next evolution. And I've sort of made peace with, all right, where I'm at isn't where I want to be. And I've put it out there and I'm thinking about it, not actively, it's sort of in the, in the subconscious area. But it's also being open to just being curious about other things and how the world works. And all of a sudden I'll have a brainstorm. But I will tell you that often I think I've noticed with friends, we dismiss those holy shit moments because we think they're so simple, that they're so just obvious that we dismiss them. And I've said to friends, no, I think that is your holy shit moment. And they're like, no, because it seems too obvious. I'm like, well, see, that's just it. I think a holy shit moment should make you feel something. It's like, it's a whole
emotion is an absolutely critical component of it, because that's what requires that's what enables the passionate drive. That if you rationalize your way into something, like this should be my career because I've done the math, and from a logical, rational standpoint, this should be what I should do.
Right.
It's going to eat your soul day by day. Whereas, you're just life's gonna suck. Whereas if there is a sudden inspiration where there's an overwhelming flow of emotions, like this is what I got to do, then so that is something that happens very quickly. There's an excellent book by Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman called Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yes.
The sudden epiphany, the holy shit moment, is when you're thinking fast. It comes to you, it explodes out of the unconsciousness into the consciousness in a moment where you have this sudden realization, and it's a very broad thing. Usually it's not super specific most of the time, but it gives you enough of an idea where you're like, yeah, this is the general direction that I need to go in. And then you switch over to the slow thinking, which is that logical, rational, mathematical analysis of, okay, now that we have this passionate driver, this big goal of something that we want to do, now we're going into the slow rational thinking that is going to figure out how to make it a reality. We're going into the strategic planning stage, and that's generally how it works: is big fuzzy explosion, and then tight rational figuring out the path to make it happen.
Yeah, and I love the trade-off of the two, because you have to then figure out how you're going to implement. What does that mean? What does that look like for you? So I love that. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's this feeling that we get. It's not about the thinking. The thinking is how we're going to get there. But I think we're using the wrong organ. And I think we sometimes are way too, well, let me think about that for a while. And it never really is a thought. It's a feeling. It's really that overwhelming, holy shit feeling. It's not the holy shit, like, let me noodle on that for a while, because it usually isn't. We talk ourselves out of stuff. Do you find that you're having any holy shit moments because of COVID? I mean, has this world?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I'm having a million of them. I mean, what's going through James Fell's head right now?
Well, first of all, there was the holy shit, I need more toilet paper moment. But we're okay. We're going to be all right in that department.
Good.
No, just the last couple of days, I've really started to think that, since I started writing in 2009, I've been very ambitious with my writing career, thinking that I wanted to be popular. I wanted to have a lot of readers, and I've accomplished a lot of that, but it's all been like, okay, what's next? What's next? I got to be bigger. I got to get more sales and a bigger fan base and all that kind of stuff. And the last couple of days, I've just realized that, I just don't know if I care about that quite so much anymore, because having a wife who's a family physician who is deeply ensconced in the planning for our province for COVID response, and having conversations with her, knowing more than most other people exactly what's going on
Yeah.
and how long this is going to last and how perilous a situation we're in and how bad it could possibly get. And I'm just starting to think, you know what? I just want us to live and be happy. And our family, like there's two of us. We have two adult children that both live with us because my son's in school and my daughter's taking the year off before she goes to school. They're 21 and 18,
Mm.
and we've always been close, but now it seems like we're even closer, and not just in proximity of being huddled in the house together.
Yeah.
We're just like we talk about it. We talk about what our fears are and what we really want out of life, and emotionally, it's brought us closer together. Where we're thinking, yeah, you know what, we just need to do what we can to get through this.
Yeah.
And James's next book or speaking career or how that next viral Facebook post or tweet or whatever just really does not even remotely compare in comparison to this wonderful family that we have. And I think that this is going to change not just us, but a lot of people about the way that we look at our lives and the way that we look at the world.
Yeah.
You think about the Great Depression, people formed habits that after the Depression was over, those habits were no longer necessary. They,
Mhm.
grandma that washed the tinfoil and reused it, even though tinfoil was cheap and easy to get right down the road, and she had the money.
Right.
That type of concept, that this is going to change us in ways that we can't even fathom yet. That I think is going to have a profound impact on the way that society functions and humans interact with one another. And I think it may be good. I think it may, once we struggle through this and come through on the other end, that the long term that humanity is going to be the ones that survive,
Yeah.
may end up being better off.
Yeah.
But who can say? We are in uncharted territory right now. That I
Yeah.
mean, we've had plagues before, but not in this modern 21st century era where we're kind of used to getting everything that we want and being safe and thinking that life is not cheap, and that life is precious. And we're not used to people dying from disease left and right. It's going to shock the shit out of us when it hits.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does put things in perspective. I think for a lot of people, you just articulated what a lot of us are feeling and thinking. It's for me, it's like what really matters, what's important. Do I really want to chase X over here? It doesn't make me happy. Why the F am I doing that? What the fuck am I doing over there? Because X isn't going to make me happy. And it really clarifies, talk about clarifying your priorities and clarifying, the work that is meaningful to you. I mean, that's something that I've been, thinking a lot about. And I think people like us who do a lot of creative work are thinking like that. Does it change for you? Has it changed how maybe you approach your creative work in your writing or the things that you write about? I mean, what's your creative process and how is it maybe different?
Well, I think that after my last book, I was thinking, okay, I got to figure out what my next book is, and I've had some stops and starts and trying to figure out what that is,
Yeah.
and I think maybe I was forcing it a bit too much because I've been career ladder. Writing is a brutal business. It is. It's as hard to make it as a writer as it is, a rock star, I think. And so I've been um, trying to push myself up to that next rung and that next rung, and had a few bumps in the road here and there, and starting to get a little bit anxious about, okay, what am I going to do next? And all of us, I'm thinking about, okay, money has been an important driver for me. I mean, we've done well as a family, and I've done well as a writer, and now it's like, you know, we're never going to starve. We're not going to go hungry. We're always going to have enough to get by. Our kids are going to be able to afford to go to school. We live in Canada, so I don't have to worry about healthcare, which is nice. And God forbid if something did happen and the hospitals weren't overflowing, we would be able to get treatment. But it's made me start to understand the importance of relaxing a bit and thinking, okay, like the next 2 years are going to be weird. We're going to go through these rolling quarantines where we're going to get it shut down for a while, and then we'll be able to come out of our hidey holes for a bit. And then there's going to be flare-ups again, and we're going to need to isolate again. And this is going to be what we're experiencing right now is going to be our new reality for probably at least 18 months, assuming that once you catch it, it confers immunity, and assuming that they can have a workable vaccine and the virus doesn't mutate horribly. And then they got to roll out the vaccine. So after a couple of years, then we can get back to hopefully what our new normal is going to be, but still it's going to be the economic recovery. But it's got me thinking that I used to think, okay, I'm 51 years old and I'm not a household name yet. Like I gotta go, gotta race, gotta keep pushing. And now I'm like, now it's I feel like I almost feel like time is on my side again.
Yeah.
Where it's okay, I know what's important, and I'm just gonna sit back and get back to that whole creative flow standpoint of, no, I'm not going to try and cram the next book out the door. I'm going to wait until it comes to me where I have that overwhelming drive that says, yeah, this is the next book that you are meant to write.
Yeah.
And just try and take all of this as much in stride as I possibly can.
Yeah, that's well said. I think I can think about how many times in the last 2 years, even, that I was pushed towards a direction. Just even my last book proposal towards something that was more considered more viable, and the publishers would be like, well, that book won't sell, but this book will over here. My last book was published by a small publisher. It didn't do too badly. As far as small, we're not talking New York Times bestseller list, but in the world of smaller books, not so shabby. But one of the things that I found myself is being dissuaded and talked out of pursuing a path that others said, well, I don't think that's going to be so profitable. And now I'm coming back. It's really interesting. I think this kind of COVID world is reigniting my fire for no, I want to go back to saying what I really believe. This is the shit I believe. I'm bringing out my potty mouth, my Twinkie ass, and I'm going to say what needs to be said. And I think, there's always been that fine line of I feel having to creatively straddle, because if you're doing business stuff, there's a certain expectation, like you can't say the holy fuck moment. If you called it the holy fuck moment, people would lose their shit. The holy shit moment would be like, they would look at that as mild. And I think what I'm hoping is that we come out of this creatively with a lot more truth telling and a lot more of the stupid stuff that we spend way too much time worrying about that's really not consequential. Like, why are we worrying about that right now? Like, there's a lot of things that concern me and offend me, but fuck isn't one of them. Not really.
An interesting point you make about how there's going to potentially be a increase in truthfulness, and I think that could arise because for a couple of reasons. One is that we're starting to realize that, okay, when survival becomes more important than a lot of other things, bullshit has a tendency to go by the wayside. And when you're spending, if you're fortunate enough to be isolated with people that you love and that you hopefully get along with, and you're spending suddenly a lot more time with each other, it becomes easier to see through each other's bullshit because, it's, and you're not constantly putting on this, this face and putting on appearances to go out into the world and be this thing. And when you're home a lot more with the people that you can truly be yourself the vast majority of the time, I think that people are going to realize that, this whole going out and having to be somebody else in the world, I never liked that anyway. I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And there might be more people getting punched in the face, but, who knows? It just makes for a more interesting societal evolution.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. I hope we have more truth telling, more creativity. I feel like there's very little to risk right now, creatively speaking, because we're in this weird sort of awkward place of, look, we know it's awkward to market. We know companies have to be different. Companies putting out bullshit. It's not working right now. It never worked, but especially right now. And I think what it does is it creates this environment of, you really don't have much to lose. You might as well go out there and say the things that matter and try the things that you want to do. And I'm hoping that we'll see a level setting, more truth, more creativity, more risk taking, and a lot less kind of, having to, do the split kind of personality thing for a lot of people who, now that they're, doing everything from Zoom and maybe they're not even wearing underwear. It's like, I'm hoping that more of who they are is showing up in the world.
Yeah, I have a bit of an affinity for underwear personally. So I do have pants on. I have sweatpants on, but I mean that's normal because I work from home all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So that part really didn't change much for me. Although I said I wasn't going to shave, and I thought, what the hell? I'll shave. So I did shave today.
Yeah, and hey, we're in this place of, I think there's bigger things to worry about. And I would think we're moving towards that evolution of like really focusing on the things that matter. Like, to me, that's first things first. And everything else I can't give any energy to, like the pretense, the BS, the false stuff. I can't give any energy because I'm out of fucks. I have no more fucks.
Behold the field in which I grow my fucks, for it is.
Yeah. Like, wasn't that an Air Supply song? I'm all out of fucks.
Oh God, I'm gonna have that earworm for the next.
I know. Exactly. I'd sing it. I'm all out of fucks. I'm so lucky about you. But yeah, no, I think that's part of it. I think these are all good things. What's one little creative maybe tip or something as you've honed your creativity and your point of view, which again, if you're not following James, you should, at Body for Wife, is his Twitter handle.
Facebook is the same too. I'm more popular on Facebook. My Facebook page is where the real action is, which is /Body for Wife.
Lot of action. I gotta tell you, his tweets are pretty impressive too. Just saying. Go follow him. Any kind of final thoughts on sort of really honing your creativity right now?
Well, I think that not necessarily honing, but understanding when you've got something. Is there's two things that I've noticed. This is one of the things when I switched to writing a blog about 5 years ago. I started blogging and I started paying attention that I would be surprised quite often that a blog post would just blow up beyond all expectations, and I'd think, "Oh, I'd like to do that again." How did that happen? Why did that one do so well? And for the last several years, I've really been analyzing it. I kind of honed it down to two things to know when you've maybe got an idea that could do really well. And the first part of that is novelty. It's got to be something new that people haven't experienced before, not necessarily brand new, but looked at in a new way where people have not looked at something in that way before.
Yeah.
So that's part one. But critical part two is just because something is new doesn't mean it's interesting. It's got to be both new and relevant to people, where they're going to say, okay, this is both new and exciting. I'm interested in this. Like, look at how much Tiger King exploded.
Yeah.
It's an absolute shit show. And
Woo!
it's all anyone can talk about. And it's because we have never seen anything like this before. And it's crazy as fuck, which is like, right now where it seems like we're in the middle of an apocalypse, we need a different type of, fuck apocalypse going on these target farms to distract us from the chaos. And I do think that some of the popularity is owed to the fact that, due to COVID-19 right now, that we wanted this crazy ass distraction. And so it was new, and it was interesting. Like, we were like, wow, we've just, this is insane. And people love a spectacle. So something like that, where it doesn't necessarily have to be a spectacle. It doesn't have to be as, like, all the people on that show suck. They're all horrible. But so it doesn't have to be that, but it just where it's like, this is not, we're charting new territory here. We're looking at something in a different way, and it is meaningful. You get an emotional response from people when you show it to them. You get those two things going on, and you've got an idea that could potentially get some good traction behind it.
Those are great points. I would only add, from my experience, and I think this fits in really nicely, is that it's that point of view. Have something new to say, the novelty, or say it in a way that people haven't heard before. Because everything's a remix of everything else. Like, there's probably nothing new, honestly, that I could come up with that the world hasn't gone, I never thought of tweaky ass like that. Probably very few things. But if you say it in the right way, I think people are like, I hadn't thought about it quite like that. So just because somebody else might be already writing about those things doesn't mean you can't have something to say. If there's a new aspect and you say it in a really novel way, hence point of view. And I think you're a great example of developing a really creative, strong, again, unapologetic point of view. Yes, when you make a mistake, but just owning who you are and the lens you have in the world. So thank you.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say, Kathy.
Yeah, no. You can send me a check later. It's cool. Gotta pay for this tweaky ass, man. I mean, who's gonna pay for that?
PR agency.
That's right. So far we covered, Tiger King, Twinkie ass, a lot of fucks at Air Supply. We've covered all the basics. Any final note you want to leave on? Anything, James, you want to leave on?
Just stay the fuck home.
Yeah. Stay the fuck home.
Yeah. Practice physical distancing. Be safe. Survive.
What more can I say? And if you want to follow James, again, you can follow him here on Facebook and on Twitter at Body for Wife. Is the same one. Again, check out his book, The Holy Shit Moment. If you want more about me, you can follow me at Kathy Klotz-Guest. And on Twitter, there's no hyphen. It's just at Kathy Klotz-Guest, because I'm sneaky like that. You can follow me here on Facebook. And my book is Stop Boring Me. And you can find that on Amazon. All right, everybody. We'll see you Friday. Thanks, James.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Bye.